For people who invest in MP2, they're okay to put in the money, then after 5 years, regardless of what happens, that's when they'll only look at it. But for the market, when people put money in there after 2 days, they get also rattled down. My suggestion to you is this: invest in MP2, but there's a thing that we call diversification. Diversification is you putting in money on things that are unrelated. And MP2 and the stock market they're both paper assets, but they're not really related to each other. Since the market was down last year, Pag Ibig's MP2 7+% dividends actually beat index altogether. While the index was negative, those who invested in Pag Ibig's MP2 made money. And I've been saying this over and over and over again. The biggest advantage of Pag Ibig's MP2 is that it's also tax-free. If you're a person who does not like volatility, if you're a person that you are okay not earning a lot of money, but you are okay also that if you place 100,000 pesos, you have something at the back of your head saying that I placed 100,000 pesos but it won't go lower than 100,000 pesos, then Pag Ibig MP2 is for you. That's what I've been saying all the time. So how does Pag Ibig MP2 fare? Those who are investing in Pag Ibig MP2 and those who plan to invest in Pag Ibig MP2, you will be spared from the volatility. You will Pag Ibig MP2 be safe? I believe so. As long as it has no economic impact. The money that you put in is guaranteed, but your earnings are not. Meaning, the earnings that they give out are still dividends. The risk there that I can only see is basically this: the consumption, the uptake for getting houses starts to dwindle down, specifically taking out loans from Pag Ibig, then the dividends might be lower also. You have to remember, the dividends is a byproduct of how many people take out loans. If the market drops because of fears of NCOV, but it doesn't really have a direct impact on people buying houses, because in 2020, we still have a backlog in houses. Not every Filipino has a house yet. The majority still of Filipinos are still either living with relatives or are renting out. So that backlog is what Pag Ibig's trying to address. You can expect during drops, you won't have volatility. Your capital will be pretty much intact. And number two, you will still have earnings, but on good times where there's a lot of people borrowing, you can expect your dividends to be relatively higher. But if the borrowing becomes lesser, you can also expect it to be lower as well. So it's not particularly immune to what's happening, because everything that happens in the Philippine economy affects us all. Good or bad, there will be some winners and there will be some losers as well. What I want to suggest to all of you is this: if you have money and you don't want the volatility of the markets, by all means go to MP2. MP2 will give you that fixed rate of return when the market is battered. Assurance at the back of your head that your capital will never go lower than the amount you actually put in. Since I'm a stock market guy, I want to share this also. If you're just starting out and you feel that the market has volatility, I'd still implore you to invest in the market, especially if you have money that you don't plan to touch for a very, very long period of time. For people who invest in MP2, they're okay to put in the money, then after 5 years, regardless of what happens, that's when they'll only look at it. But for the market, when people put money in there after 2 days, they get also rattled down. My suggestion to you is this: invest in MP2, but there's a thing that we call diversification. Diversification is you putting in money on things that are unrelated. And MP2 and the stock market they're both paper assets, but they're not really related to each other. If you love MP2 so much and you don't want volatility, put more there, but try to allocate a small amount in the stock market. Why? Markets drop when there's more people selling. When more people are selling, regardless of how good the company is, it will always drop, because it's all about supply and demand. And some of them have dropped because a lot of people are just selling. Find those stocks that are really good, that have been massively battered, and allocate a specific amount there and go back to that stock 5 years from now. Treat it like an MP2. By the time you come back 5 years from now, it would be in a better position. But not just that, especially if the stock that you're buying has dividends, then you have two types of earnings. Number one, because you bought when there's a lot of uncertainty, you will have capital appreciation. That's one. Number two, the dividends that you will get every year is your compensation, that while you're waiting it out for the capital appreciation to happen, you get earnings as well. So it's a proxy to what MP2 is giving, where it's giving you dividends, but this time you have a chance of a bigger capital appreciation. So with the exception of a few stocks, majority of the stocks will give you lower dividend yield than MP2. However, that's okay if ultimate end goal 5 years from now is capital appreciation from the stocks that you're buying. And I'll tell you this, the reason why I'm sharing this to you is that since the market is down and you are a very, very long-term investor that you don't care what will happen to the stock 2 months from now, this is a good time for you to position. But please remember this, don't position blindly. Don't take the time to study, take the time to research. You need to have full conviction of what you are buying. You need to have full conviction that this is a stock that you want to buy. If you don't have time, just buy the index fund. Not 2008 crash levels down, but it's down a considerable level already. So if it goes back from 6,800 to 9,000, then you also have a decent gain also. It's something that I believe could beat time deposits. It's something that I believe could beat bonds. And if it goes back from 6,800 to 9,000 in less than 5 years, then it will beat for sure MP2 as well. So again, just to recap, if you're a person who doesn't have the time, put a large chunk in MP2, but diversify index funds or stocks that give you dividends but are still growing and are massively battered. So I guess that's it. We're at the tail end of the video. Please comment below if you still stayed. I really hope that the videos that I make is something that gives you tremendous value. You can never go wrong when you invest. You can never go wrong when you start putting your dreams first. I'd rather lose money in investing than lose money buying something that I don't need. And that was my mentality when I was starting out. I skipped off buying gadgets when I was starting out to invest my money first, so that that money that I used to invest allowed me to buy the things that I want to buy today as well. So winning is always about delayed gratification. Winning is always about deferring some of the stuff that makes you feel good today so that later on you can do it for the rest of your life. 5 to 7 years of working hard, hustling, saving, spending less could lead to a lifetime of prosperity. That works. It happens. Winners don't blame other people. They take responsibility. So if you make a mistake, own up to it, push forward, learn from that mistake, tweak it, and try to find out how you can be better off of that. This is Marvingermo. I hope this video helps you. Trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, guys, and God bless you all.